Bapak Ibu. Apakah semua presenter dari masing-masing peserta sudah ada di Zoom ini semuanya ya? Apa bisa dengar suara saya? Gimana?
Saya sudah hadir, Pak.
Bisa didengar,
Oke,
Pak.
baik. Bagaimana dengan tawaran tadi? Kita sepakati dulu apakah presentasi satu persatu atau langsung kita buat sekaligus saja atau bagaimana?
Ya, saya setuju, Pak.
Sepakat tadi, Pak. Sepakat bareng-bareng.
Sepakat.
Iya, karena bayangan saya Bu, nanti kita bisa saling saling elaborasi topik gitu. Jadi bisa berbagi juga saya pikir. Oke ya, kita sepakat ya. Baik, yang pertama saya persilakan untuk Bu Tiara Ramadhani, apakah ada di dalam Zoom ini?
Oke, sudah. Ada ini ya. Sudah.
Ibu Tiara? Sepertinya tidak ada. Kita langsung saja ke Pak Iwayan Gede Lamopia. Silakan Pak Wayan. Mungkin ada anggota timnya Pak Wayan yang akan presentasi. Ada timnya Pak Wayan di dalam Zoom? Sepertinya tidak ada juga. Saya lanjut ke Pak Martin Herna Susanti. Ini Bapak atau Ibu ya? Martin Herna Susanti, Ibu kan barangkali. Silakan,
Saya Ibu, Pak, tapi
Ya.
ini saya pindah ke ini ya, Pak. Tapi ini maaf, ini kan masih di HP nih. Saya baru tiba di rumah, saya tak pindah ke laptop. Apakah bisa ditunggu atau gimana?
Oh, silakan Bu. Ternyata Pak Wayan akan putar video. Silakan Pak Wayan. Pak Wayan
Oke.
dulu ya Bu. Oke, terima kasih Bu. Silakan.
Oke, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for the opportunity and my apologies. I can't attend this international conference. So, thank you for having me and let me introduce myself to you. My name is Riza Wulandari from Bali. I'm a second author in this paper and the first author is Iwayan Gede Lamopia. And I'm going to present our article title is Ngenengening Local Tradition in Dealing with COVID-19, Study of Balinese Bayung Gede Village Age Community, Bangli Regency, Bali Province. Let's get started. Yeah, quote from infocorona.baliprof.go.id in the development of cases that occurred in Bali in 2021 has decreased. This cannot be separated from the role in indigenous villages in preventing the transmission of the COVID-19 pandemic in villages, one of which is in Bayung Gede village. Bayung Gede village is one of the traditional village inhabited by the residents of Bali Aga. The people of Bayung Gede implement two government systems, namely the service system and the customer government system. Facing COVID-19, there are customary rules that applied is the implementation of the Ngenengening ceremony. Yeah, unfortunately, many do not know about this sacred hereditary ceremony, especially the younger generation. Several studies have been conducted on the COVID-19 pandemic. but no one has discussed the ngening-ngening tradition ceremony, so it is interesting to conduct research with the aim of introduction local tradition to main existence. Next, method research. The method research in this article, problem in research will be studying using qualitative research method with a case study approach and third-person theory of structural functionalism. Next, for the result in this paper, first one, just joint discussion of PHDI Bali Province and the Indigenous Village Assembly of Bali Province with number 026/PHDI-Bali/4/20 and number 6/SK/MDA-Prof Bali/4/2020. And second, Nunas Ica ngeneng skala lani skala ceremony. And the next, harmonization of Trihita Karana, and the last one, Kalapatra village. So, ngeneng ceremony is important in this desa, in this Bayung Gede village. In Nunas Ica ngeneng is carried out of the time of the Tilem Kadesa, which is only allowed to do activities Nunas Ica and earth brew and prepared Banten Rayunan and yellow white sodaan for Sanggah Kamulan. Banten Segahan with yellow in Natar Manajan and various other series to Ngaturang Bakti to Betara Kawitan and Sanghyang Widi Wasa. In various areas of Bangli Kintamani, there is another mention of another ceremony, namely silent healing held in the traditional village of Sala Abuan Bangli. Basically, the term of ngeneng-ngening is a code in anticipation of the extension of local wisdom for generations in the indigenous village of Bali. So let's get started for the theory. First one, adaptation. 2, goals. And 3, integration. And the last one, latent. Adaptation. Adaptation in this theory, Agil, analysis of theory Agil person is Balinese Bayung Gede village is able to follow the rules and adapt not to move outside the house. Like name lockdown. Nah, next for goal, facing Gumi Gerit COVID-19 through hereditary tradition and integration. Control supervised by name Pecalang in Bayung Gede in the genus Bali. And the next latent, the spread of COVID-19 in Bayung Gede village decreased. So the last but not least, conclusion in this paper, Bali has a unique way of dealing with COVID-19, one of them by reviving local tradition, namely ngeneng-ngening ceremonies, as done by the village of Bayung Gede. As a village inhabited by ancient Balinese people, it is important to maintain this tradition so that the younger generation can preserve it. The mention of ngeneng-ngening ceremony in each customary village is different, but the meaning and process carried out remain the same. Ngaturang devotion to Betara Kawitan and Sanghyang Widi. Thank you for the attention and see you next international conference in order. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Baik, terima kasih Bu. Kita lanjut ke materi kedua dari Ibu Martien Herna Susanti. Silakan Ibu. 10 menit ya, Bu.
Ya. Saya belum dijadikan co-host ya, Pak Jeffrey.
Oh iya. Oke, mungkin ya saya bisa ntar sebut.
Oke. Sudah.
Oke, baik, silakan, Bu.
Apakah sudah bisa dilihat, Pak?
Di saya sih belum ya, Bu.
Oke.
Sudah.
Oke. Terima kasih, Pak Jeffrey. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is Martin Hirna Susanti. I am from Universitas Negeri Semarang. I will presentation my article entitled Merti Desa, Local Wisdom Based on the Conservation of Kenteng Tourism, Village Semarang Regency. Introduction. In general, natural beauty and attractive cultural heritage are the main asset of tourism, but unique quality and cultural values are needed as the main selling point in tourism business activities. The third thing that is important to note is to ensure that the village is worthy of being a tourist village. The study aimed to link the Merti Desa tradition, or what is known as Sedekah Bumi, as part of local wisdom with a conservation-based tourism village in Kenteng Village, Bandungan District, Semarang Regency. Merti Desa tradition is a form of gratitude for the village community to God Almighty for the success of the rice harvest, which is carried out every 2 years. Research question: how the Merti Desa tradition become a unique village tourism based on conservation? Research methods: this research is a qualitative case study that tries to examine in-depth Merti Desa as a form of local wisdom based on the conservation of the Kenteng Tourism Village, Semarang Regency. Data were collected from direct observation, participant interviews, and focus group discussion. Informal sources of information were determined through the purposive methods. Result and discussion. The result showed that the Merti Desa tradition of give as a unique feature of Kenteng Village that distinguishes it from other tourist villages after the Kenteng Festival. Is a cultural festival that introduced the culture of the local community to the culinary specialties of Kenteng Village as part of the promotion of the tourist village. This festival was first held in 2018 and is planned to be held once a year, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the activity has been on hiatus for 2 years. The Merti Desa tradition deserves to be appointed as the flagship program of a conservation-based tourism village. The cultural values in question: 1. Gotong royong in the form of community self-help. 2. Religion in the form of a salvation event as a form of gratitude to God Almighty. 3. Aesthetic value is wayang kulit show. And 4. The value of tolerance among community members. This is in line with the concept of a conservation-based tourism village, namely village development and development without leaving the characteristic of rural life. The Kenteng Tourism Village has fulfilled the requirement as a conservation-based tourist village because it is the 3 pillars of sustainable development, which include: 1. Encouraging the growth of tourism activities that are friendly and care about the environment. 2. Encouraging the development of conservation-based tourism products. 3. Encouraging the development of tourist products according to market interests based of preservation, namely cultural tourism. Conclusion: the tourist village itself is a form of integration between the potential for natural, cultural, and artificial tourist attraction in a certain area support by attraction, accommodation, and other facilities the local wisdom of the community. Merti Desa not only saw preservation from the physical set, but also social values, namely the values of cooperation, religion, aesthetic, and tolerance. Kenteng Village has not yet reached an advanced tourism village, but local wisdom that is preserved is an important point in empowering Kenteng Village as a conservation-based tourism village. Thank you, Mr. Jeffrey. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Baik, terima kasih kembali Ibu. Baik, selanjutnya Pak ini Putu Nomi Yasinta, silakan. Apakah ada di
Yes,
dalam
Miss.
ruang Zoom ini?
Ya, Bapak Jeffrey,
Ya,
Miss.
silakan Bu.
Ini yang akan melakukan presentasi adalah mahasiswa saya, jadi saya persilakan untuk share screen langsung.
Silakan Bu, tapi kalau bisa slideshow ya Bu, biar kelihatan nanti jelas
Ya,
ininya,
terima kasih.
materinya. Baik.
Baik.
Mungkin bisa dibuat dalam bentuk slideshow ya, biar agak jelas kelihatan. Oke, baik, terima kasih.
Tes, apa suara saya terdengar, Bapak?
Cukup jelas, silakan 10 menit ya.
Baik, terima kasih atas waktunya. Good afternoon, respect ladies and gentlemen, and all guests whom we are proud of. Thank you for the opportunity that has been given to our team to make a presentation. Before starting the presentation, it will be good for us to introduce ourselves. While our team consists of 3 people, chaired by Putu Nomi Yasinta, then there is Ketut Rani Melandari, and last Putu Sartini, with the title of this search is Singbeling Singanten, Phenomenon and its Relation to the Perspective of Balinese Law. Next slide. Okay, as it is known, gender equality is greatly valued in Hindu teaching, with equal opportunity for women and men to appreciate themselves in social life. The importance of women's roles in all elements of communal life, as well as religious rights, so that they might complement each other in balanced and harmonious manner in supporting family, community, homeland, and national life. Inverse proportionality, gender equality has not been represent in Balinese tradition or customary law. This can be observed in terms of man and woman's roles in marriage, inheritance, and other aspects of social life. In comparison to women, Balinese men enjoy a privileged status and role. Discrimination between men and women in Bali is also reflected in the word used when a man proposes to a woman with the word ngayahin, which meant to serve, were in line with the characteristic of the patrilineal kinship system by Holman and Konjaraningrat in Sudarta 2006. And this research is based on the theory of gender from Simamora 2019. Next slide. Then the research method used in this study is qualitative descriptive with using literature study data collection techniques, namely reviewing and collecting data sourced from journal, articles, book, and other relevant reference with the topic discussed. Next slide. The phenomenon of sing-beling singanten in Bali. The first, a common phenomenon. The patriarchal culture in Bali can be felt through the many demands on women, one of which must be able to give offspring. The phenomenon of sing-beling singanten, or not pregnant, not married, is considered normal in Bali. It becomes an experiment for Balinese women before marriage. The second, from the standpoint of Europe, prior to the 1980s, the case of women who became pregnant before marriage was considered an abuse that could tarnish the good name of the family and also the woman herself. And the third, or the last, encouragement from parent. The parent makes sexual intercourse before marriage as a form of blessing if the woman can get pregnant. However, if she is not pregnant, then the man has the right to leave and look for another woman who is more capable of producing offspring. Next slide. Okay, if it's linked between the phenomenon of sing-beling singanten and gender theory from Shimamura 2019, there are 4 indicators to measure that gender equality, including the first is access, second is participation, third is control, and the last is benefit. The next presentation will be continued by my colleague, Ketut Rani Melandari.
Okay, thanks for the time. So, however, woman's pregnancy can guarantee a happy marriage because there are so many things that maybe happen before wedding. One of them is the bridegroom will pass away before the wedding day. So, then what will happen to the woman and the child later? There's another unique way to tackle this, which is to perform wedding ritual using a chryst as a sign of the male. What is the tradition goal? The purpose of this marriage is to obtain accountability for the woman's pregnancy and to provide legal certainty for the child to be born, so that the right and obligation of the child can be fulfilled both in the family and in the community. And from Balinese law point of view, marriage carried out with the chryst symbol are considered valid under Balinese customary law because they provide legal protection for women who were born by their future husband when they were pregnant. Indigenous people and the government recognize each other's marriage as evidenced by the issuance of marriage certificate and birth certificate of children. Law number 1 of 1974 concerning marriage. Okay. The impact of the sing-beling singanten phenomenon on women. There are 5 psychological effects, namely, the first, women feel depressed, anxious, and afraid if they can get pregnant. Second, women feel unholy anymore because they act against norm. Third, there's a lot of certainty when it comes to predicting the future. And the fourth, feeling restricted in their decision-making and right exercising abilities. And the last, feeling helpless because they were compelled to have sex for the purpose of a fertility test. Okay, the effort to prevent sex before marriage, which are provide sex education, socialization, and explain the true meaning of marriage, so the lover can marry based on love and mature willingness to take risks rather than just to fulfill sexual desire. the government needs to pay more attention to women's rights in particular, so that in the future it does not have unintended consequences that are detrimental to the nation's generation. And the last, authorities provide counseling in order to reduce the possibility of incorrect assumption development in the community. Singling Singhanten violates human rights of women. Because of this incident, women's human rights were violated. These rights are from Article 28A of the 1945 Constitution that say everyone has the right to live and has the right to defend their life. Second, from Article 28B, paragraph 1 of the 1945 Constitution, that said everyone has the right to form a family and continue their offspring through a legal marriage. And the last, from Article 28G of the 1945 Constitution, that say everyone has the right to personal protection, namely honor, dignity, and property under their control, and has the right to a sense of security and protection from the threat of fear to do or not do something, which is a human right. And the conclusion is, in Bali, the phenomenon of singling Singhanten on or not pregnant, not married, has become more common. It has evolved into a test for Balinese women prior to marriage. When a woman is pregnant but the man is unable to attend the wedding, since marriage occurred. Chris, the goal is to hold women accountable for their pregnancy and to provide legal certainty for children who are born. Under Balinese customary law, the marriage was declared valid. Singling Singhanten can be upsetting to a woman's psychology, whether or not she is pregnant. If efforts are needed to prevent this phenomenon from spreading. The authors providing sex education socialization and explaining the true meaning of marriage so that no more women's human rights are violated. Okay, that's all about our presentation, which describes the phenomenon that's entered in Bali. We apologize for any misspelling and thank you for the time.
Baik, terima kasih Mbak Sartini dan Rani. Selanjutnya kita lanjutkan presentasi dari Pak Randy. Silakan Pak Randy. Atau mungkin timnya Pak Randy ada Mas Bajatul Murtasidin, Pak Abdul Fatah atau Pak Sarvin. Baik, sepertinya belum bergabung di Zoom ya. Kita lanjut saja ke timnya Adila Husnul Khotimah.
Yes.
Oh ya, ini salah satu timnya. Silakan Mbak Elvia. Apakah sudah siap untuk presentasi, Mbak Elvia?
Izin Pak, ini lagi nyiapin PPT-nya.
Begini saja ya, biar kita nggak berlama-lama. Mungkin setelah ini ya, presenter berikut ini ya, mungkin bisa dipersiapkan dulu PPT-nya. Bagaimana?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Oke, kalau begitu saya ke Bu Sulista. Atau...
Ya Pak.
Ya, silakan Bu.
Kami boleh minta bantu di share screen nggak Pak? Tadi saya sudah kirimkan ke Google Drive untuk slide PowerPoint-nya.
Atau coba dikirim ke Zoom ini Bu lewat chat biar saya bantu nanti.
Wah, saya nggak ngerti nih lewat chat ini gimana. Ini
Chat Zoom
kirimnya.
aja. Iya, chat Zoom aja, chat biasa.
Oh ya, oke.
Oke. Tinggal klik itu ada simbol kertas itu loh, Bu, seperti kertas itu.
Kalau ini tampil nggak ya? Kelihatan
Belum,
nggak?
Bu. Oh, sudah.
Ya.
Tapi izin Bu, mohon
Ya.
di slideshow biar kelihatan. Oke, baik, terima kasih. Silakan Bu
Ini
Sulista dan
sudah.
sudah.
Ini sudah saya ya, sudah kan?
Ya, sudah.
Thank you for the opportunity. In our turn, I am Sulista and my colleague is Sandi Pratama. Will present the title of our scientific article on women and artisanal mining, tin mine in Kulur Village, Bangka Tengah. The aims of our research are tracing the involvement of women participation in artisanal mining. The second is using gender mainstreaming concept to analyze the role and the contribution of people in mining. The third is constructing the economic structure in small-scale mining community. And the fourth is challenging patriarchy and subsistence discourse in context women resistant on gender equality. As we know, the existence and participation of women are often being not accommodated by various discourse and regulating in mining governance policies, even though they are exist in mining. Gender equality issue as the fifth goal of the SDGs let the mainstream of the women's role equality, especially on economic technical activities, which are often left behind by the hegemonies of men previously. Many of the women had been subjected to comment about being in the wrong place. Comment has suggested that women didn't belong in the mine, and that job too dangerous, too unhealthy, too demanding, and or too technical for them. So our questions are the women's struggle for equality and egalitarian livelihood on wealth production. Then we conducted real observations and interviews with female miners under the category of women who mine for a long period of time, minimum 5 years or more. Kulur village is one of the villages in the mining business license of PT Timah Tbk, which has been operating since early 2000. And the mining activities are conducted by contractors or partners of PT Timah Tbk. Since the mine started operating, the woman, at least wife, has been planning for tin in Sakan. They will keep mining no matter what, whether the price of tin is high or low. Then we will describe the data descriptively. Then using exploration techniques combined with a literature review, we try to analyze the woman's struggle for gender equality and their struggle for subsistence of family or community life sustainable. Finally, we build an operational framework, the embedded involvement of women miners in artisanal and small-scale mining in a marginal expense is an effort to women in family, wife or daughter, to support the income of family for everyday life sustainable. Therefore, we propose a conceptual framework on gender resilience, in particular on economic patriarchy and resistance to subsistence. Our finding study, we found that in RT7 and RT8, 8 women, wives from 10 houses will go for funkin. They depart at 1 p.m. until the evening with an average duration of 4 or 5 or till 5 hours in the mining area. women and men work together in panning for team at the tip of the sakan. In the context of family, apart from the wife, it is not uncommon for husband and children to also pan for team, or the child or husband is a mining worker or working towards this posting in the second, while the mother or wife pans 14 at the tip or at the second. Okay. Next slide. To pan for 14, they use plates, scrapers, and pans. And these days, they can produce as much as 2 kilograms till 5 kilograms of tin per week. Once in a while, 12 kilograms of tin per week. Average, their income is 300,000 IDR up to a million more at price of IDR 180,000. Actually, this value is the total obtained in one family per week. Actually, their husbands are mining, their children are mining, and on average, their family are low income. What is the main purposes of them being involved in mining? Often, their husband income is not fixed and cannot fulfill the necessities of their family life. If not tin panning or become the tin mine worker, their husband become construction workers or fishermen. So they involve the woman or the wife involved in tin mining to have the daily needs of the family by taxes, or they want to send their children to school or university for a hope to have their children to work in a formal sector and improve the standard of their living for a better life. And our other finding is the women miners feel that mining is better, even though they only get a little. There is no reason for their choice to mine as long as it can help the family economy. But there are some issues that follow, which are occupational safety issues, because they don't wear shoes and helmet for safety reasons. They have a limited role in economic activity in the mining industry, because their activities are limited to simple technology using plates and scrapers. A small number have husbands who own unconventional mines by washing tin. And the third, till now, still difficult to identify the regulation of economic and laws that protects them. Finally, our conclusion, there are two aspects. The first is the women's struggle. Women as the marginal and vulnerable part in the weak economy group involved to tin mining or ngelimbang in ASM process for survival motive. Then they would gain the additional income for family revenue for basic or minimal need expense. And the next is a woman embedded in mining process without the specific regulation or social protection. And the second aspect is a patriarchy in artisanal mining. Men still dominate power and act like a person of authority in communal mining activity, moreover in family. Women becoming the most influencing and in extractive regime. The existence of marginalization by capital and inequality of economic resilience of women in economic risk, even though they contribute more large production in accumulative production of that's one I can convey from being really helpful. And thank you for your attention. I return to the moderator.
Baik, terima kasih Bu Sulista. Saya ingin cek kembali, Elvia sudah siap untuk presentasi?
Yes, yeah.
Ya, silakan.
Please co-host Adila Husnul Khotimah.
Oke, baik, silakan. Di slideshow ya.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry.
Elvia, apakah ada gangguan?
I'm sorry, sir. I'm problem with network.
Sepertinya koneksi internetnya kurang mendukung ya. Oke, sembari di-share mungkin bisa saja dilanjut saja ya. Silakan, Elvia. Atau bagaimana? Sembari menunggu koneksi internetnya stabil barangkali. Saya persilakan dulu untuk presentator yang lain.
Yes.
Oke, diperbaiki dulu ya. Baik, silakan Pak Nuh Tarigan. Silakan.
Baik, Pak. Sudah ada data saya di dalam Google Drive, Google Drive dari Bapak. Sorry, ini terbalik ini. Saya langsung maksudnya saya mengirim langsung dari saya punya komputer atau pakai yang dari Google Drive, Pak?
Kalau bisa langsung dari Bapak saja ya.
Oh ya.
Oke.
Ini terbalik ya, Pak? Oh, sorry.
Tidak terbalik kok, Pak. Normal.
Background saya.
Tidak, Pak.
Oh, enggak
normal.
terbalik ya? Oh,
Ya.
Oke. Saya bagi dari saya punya ya.
Oke, silakan, Pak.
Baik ya, sebentar ya. Sebentar dulu. Saya sebentar. Ini kurang pas tadi. Ya. Udah ada kok tadi udah saya taruh. Ya. Oke nih. Sebentar. Baik. Ya, ini ya. Udah kelihatan? Udah kelihatan? Belum? Can you see my presentation there? It's already on the screen now. It's already there. Excuse me. You have already seen my my presentation already, Mr. Michael.
Yeah, we have seen, sir.
Oh,
It's
Mr.
everyone.
Oh, sorry. Who's the moderator for this presentation? There's no moderator.
Sudah kelihatan.
Okay.
Sudah kelihatan, Pak.
Okay.
Saya harap di slideshow ya, Pak ya, biar
Yep.
lebih jelas tampilannya.
All right.
Oke.
Yeah. It's okay. My fellow friend and my dear great attention.
Sepertinya slide-nya terclose ya, Pak. Masih di unmute itu, Pak.
Okay. Is it okay or no? Is it okay?
Oke, tapi ini harap di slideshow, Pak. Masih agak kurang jelas ini tampilannya.
How about this? It's okay?
It's okay. Okay.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for your time and also to give me the time to present my actually the manuscript of this paper, but this paper is not yet ready yet because still on the process. But before that, I want to give you a indication what's the situation there and what's the possibility could be developed and in future for my papers. Yeah, my purpose title is the Jambor Cairo Building Views from the lens of disability concerning local action plan for persons with disabilities. So actually, I'm from Character Building Development Center at Computer Science Department in Binus University in Jakarta. Actually, I was disabled, so I cannot speak very fast because my condition of my physical body is not usually like other people. So this is the appearance and also the form of the Jambor is when I talk about the Jambor, actually this is a traditional building built in North Sumatra in the certain area in Medan and not too far from Medan. It's about 15 kilometers from there to the Tanah Karo Highland. So Tanah Karo Island is the beautiful scenery and also it's like a puncak. Now, I want to share you something interesting here. Actually, Jambor is a public meeting building in the Karo Batak tribe, or just called Karo, which has a robust kinship system and can see it from architecture of the traditional building. Even in realizing the building by using the community's approach, it becomes an empowering process for all procedures. We see that the deliberation of consensus is not something is possible which is not just lip service. So the principles of genuine and open democracy took place, but that only happened in the past, maybe, yeah, because it turns out what that we build no longer with the heart and character, but with an approach that is often competitive and hedonistic. So this has become very extreme and blind problem. We see it in the terms of personal character, development and Karo community both in Jakarta, Medan, including cities in Karo such as Kabanjaya and Sabarstagi and others. Is there any concern of or equity for vulnerable or marginalized communities in the design and planning process? Let us build it together. So nothing is impossible, according to me, and can the regional action plan be developed regarding disability of physical buildings such as Dambur or public meeting or buildings? So can it be implemented? So furthermore, it could compatible with the National Action Plan for Persons with Disabilities so that everything can be well coordinated. Now, the keywords of this abstract is one is empowering. How we can empowering the people, not only the people commonly, but also the marginalized people like disabilities. As you know, we have in Indonesia now what we call the disability law, number 8 in 2016. Yeah, it's already 5 years ago, and it's actually talking about how we can deal with the person with the disabilities. We cannot ignoring them. We cannot spirited by us from other people, because they are and that people or person with disability is human. It's not human. Yeah, he or she is human as well. So you see also the character. And station is marginalized, mostly is marginalized. They live in Indonesia. There's about 25 million people. That's according to the survey, yeah. But according to the Senate consensus, according to the statistic is not yet ready, because statistic is not count them as one by one. So they're living in the very vulnerable situation, because in this COVID-19 pandemic, they also have many problems. You can see that from the many news and many information, yeah, not only in Indonesia but also around the world, they have the vulnerable situation, yeah, like deaf and the dumb people, like they cannot listening, or they cannot hear sound or maybe a voice, yeah, because that they cannot catch the meaning, or also to understanding other people's communication. So this is very fragile, according to me. Now, and also we can see the democracy is also very important for these people. So even in realizing the building by using the community's approach, it becomes empowering process for all procedures. We see that liberation for consensus is not something impossible. We say it's not just a lip service. They don't want to have only the lip service, but also the reality, the universal design, the reality of the everything, according to me, not only the transportation, but also the accessibility to enter the public building. Yeah, as I said before, I will concentrating in the public housing, public amenities, public spaces, especially Jambur in North Sumatra or maybe in the Karo. Now, so is there any concern or equity or for vulnerable or marginalized community in the design and planning process? Actually, from my thinking is we are not talking about the architecture, but also the space, yeah, the space, and also the mesh, yeah, mesh and the space. But for this situation, space is more important because it could be related to the universal design. So can the regional action, yeah, can be developed, yeah, regarding the accessibility of physical buildings such as Jambur or public meeting building. You see that in national level, disability is already accepted by the government in the central government, but maybe in the local level, they are not recognized. Yeah, sometimes everybody doesn't know about the disability law, but the disability law is already there. It's already in Indonesia. So regarding to that, we can see that our Karone's traditional building is a central building in the community or in the kampung area or in the village area. And Jambur as the social buildings, yeah, function is to capture or to accept all the people, and when they have a meeting or social gathering in the one space. So this is very important building actually. So this is according to one Karone's intellectual professor is Dr. Masri Singarimbun, yeah, from University of Gadjah Mada, Yogyakarta. So this is actually the state of the building. We can see that from various building. So I was developed many Jamburs, but not only in Java, not only but also in Sumatra. This is the one examples of the Jambur developed by one community in Karo, one in Karo, Jakarta. I mean, they coming from Jakarta, but they originally from Karo Island. Yeah. So this is actually the building, as I said before about the Jambur. And you see the comparison between that building and many building in Tanah Karo Island, like churches, churches, and also buildings. Not only the churches, but also the meeting room or the meeting space, or maybe the mosque. Mosque, as you can find it in several area in Sumatra. Now, this is one chapel. Actually, I developed this building many years ago, in 1989, and also it's one good building in North Sumatra. So the comparison of the proportion is about 9:1:1. Yeah, he said, but this building actually is quite good when we're talking about the measurement and also the scala, about the compare to the other building, right? Like Griton, like Jambur, yeah, they have a different scale. But many buildings was changed, yeah, changed to the like this, yeah, like Gedung Wanita Karo, yeah. You see that it's very dull building and it's not interesting to see that. Actually, in the past, this building is very good, yeah, very comfortable to live there, and not to live, but to stay there and have a meeting with the people. But now it's a dull. It's like ruko biasa, yeah. So everybody very dull. If you we can see that that maze and also the space. The other is the mosque in Patumbak. This is also one theory from the theory before it got from that comparison before. This is about that building, Geritan building, or maybe the public building developed into the mosque. Yeah, so many functions to be like same with like others. Now this is one of the situation there in the front of the Jambur building. You see many children and many people there, and can be certified and can be developed to the human for everybody. So material method used for this research is qualitative, especially phenomenon. Yeah, so the method is used is to visually observe an existing literatures, see symptoms and observation through all to new buildings and key information and carried out within a particular time. So this approach follows the case that the author described from above. From the temporary result I got and the temporary discussion I got in this month or maybe around these 2 months, traditional buildings in North Sumatra, especially in Karo district or Tanah Karo, are said to be very environmentally friendly at the time. The buildings are more from natural materials around it, and cooperation among the people has always been very well known for its mutual existence. So, like Gotong Royong, like develop that with a character to develop the together to build the buildings is not odd things. Yeah, according to my observation there, like rarely the people would do develop this building is very participative. Yeah, very participative. Then the conclusion I got for the temporary situation is local genius will build better in the future if the input is more perseverant. So not only talking about the common people, but also thinking about how we can deal with also the disability, with old people, with elderly, with many friends. Yeah, like women, yeah, and also the children to get the how to access to that building easily. So no stairs, no no bars, no everything, no columns. Yeah, so free for everyone. Yeah, not only common people, but also for the people with disability. So the other thing I see that climate change for good environmental development and inclusive community from leaders so are very paramount for all people. So not only Karonis, yeah, but also for other people, yeah, not only Karonis building, but also all the traditional building. This is very important. Then yeah, there are so many references I got, but I want to give you this is one appreciation of myself to my friends, actually my friend and also my partner, maybe in the past, maybe this is also to appreciate my appreciation for him and also for all the people who understand and also to know about the past ability and also traditional culture. So I think that's one answer I want to share for you. Maybe next time I will give you full information about this. And thank you very much for your great attention. Ya.
Baik, terima kasih kembali, Anwar.
Terima kasih.
Selanjutnya, yang terakhir, Elvia, silakan.
Yes.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming to this presentation. I'm honored to meet you here. Let me introduce ourselves. My name is Adela Husnul Khotimah, and next to me is Elvia Irmayanti, and we from University of Bangka Belitung. Now I would like to present about reconstruction of Klapan Island towards Bugis in historical civil tracts. To the first, I will explain about chapter 1. In chapter 1, this explain about introduce and material and methods. Introduce. Lepar Island is a small island in the south part of the island of Bangka. This island accommodates 4 villages in the consisting of Penutup Village, Tanjung Sangkar Village, Tanjung Labu Village, and Kumbung Village. Although it only has 4 villages in east, Lepar Island has its own uniques that other islands do not have. One the unique feature of this island is that it has a good marine resources and has very beautiful coastal tourism potential because the community still maintains excess local wisdom. And historical, the formation of the island Klapan and the Bugis Strip is an inseparable unit because the role of the Bugis Strip in the process of Klapan Island has a very long historical journey, which will be the point of discussion in the journal. The process of reconstruction Klapan has very intrinsic dynamics to tell. The founder or elder of Klapan Island is the grandfather of Hamlet Head to Klapan Island. Miss Bunga, who is a great woman as a graduate of the founder of Klapan Island, who is now village head and also teacher there.
Material and methods. In this study, the author explained how the reconstruction of the island of Klapan in the process of building and the beginning of the formation of the island was inhabited by Bugis people with descriptive methods. The purpose of this study is to cover describe the phenomenon of social cultural reality of the people who live on an island that is far from access from the city center and still maintain quality existing local wisdom. Then the focus of this research is more on the cultural beliefs on the people who still have basic belief in the reconstruction process carried out. Chapter 2, Result and Discussion. The island began to be used as a community settlement on the 1907 by Nomaru from Sulawesi. But before the 1917, there were people who went to the island, but the island was only used for reconstruction. Then the Dutch occupation and not reserved for community settlement. Egg Island has two research that say this island is called Egg Island. The first is because the island is overgrown by lost coconut tree. The second is because the Egg Island is the Egg Island of the Sadai Sea Island cluster. Chapter 3. Conclusion. In the case, we explore how and what are the influence of the Bugis type as order who opened Kelapan Island is in the reconstruction of the existing previous histories, include the influence of demographic condition on social political culture carried out by the Bugis tribes who occupy Kelapan Island. The research of the study indicate the social, cultural, and political construction process and political influence of the previous elder in the reconstruction process of Kelapan Island.
Oke, baik. Terima kasih, Elvia. Selanjutnya untuk presentasi terakhir itu ada Nadila ya, yang harusnya kemarin tapi dipindahkan untuk hari ini. Silakan Nadila.
Ya Pak, apakah suaranya terdengar Pak?
Cukup jelas Nadila.
Oke, terima kasih Pak. Sebentar ya. Berhubungan videonya agak kurang bagus, nggak apa-apa ya. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for giving me this wonderful opportunity. I am Nadila Sabina, a student of English Literature Department, Universitas Bangka Belitung. Actually, this is my first time delivering presentation in an international conference, and I'd like to thank Ms. Dini and Mr. Bob for as my advisor for encouraging me to do this presentation. So thank you so much for Ms. Dini and Mr. Bob. And then, so the title of my research paper is Personal Reference in the Jakarta Post News Hot Topic October 2020 edition. So, ladies and gentlemen, writing cannot be separated from language since it is one of the form of languages. However, the product of writing, which is written text that refers to a passage of any length, should be written in a good fashion that link between one element and another. Because if the passage is not written in a good sense occasion, it will be a misperception by the readers. Moreover, a passage like newspapers that considered as the primary source of information for public should be delivered in a well-written text that is understandable to the readers, especially in news concerning on health topic. According to WHO, health is defined as the state of completion of psychical, mental, and social well-being. So it is concerned about the absence of the disease, mental, and social interaction among humans. In addition, health is also considered as human primary needs because it helps to sustain all the daily activities human does, such as teaching, studying, and etc. So therefore, a disorganized health news readers will enormously impact the readers because it will arise the confusion, misperception, and misunderstanding among the readers. This is the reason why cohesion is important in constructing the news. So one of the tools that can be used to build cohesion is personal reference as part of cohesive devices. And then the next. Therefore, the study aims to identify the occurrence of personal reference in the Jakarta Post News Hall Tag October 2020 edition and to identify the function of the personal reference found within the news. And then, The theory used in conducting the study was Halliday and Hassan theory of classic devices. Actually, for reference itself, there are 3 types of reference proposed by Halliday and Hassan, which are personal, demonstrative, and comparative reference. And then personal reference, reference made to the function of a person in speech situation. It includes personal pronouns such as possessive adjective and personal and possessive pronouns. The table that show the reference can be seen on the screen. Then the method that used to conduct this study is qualitative method that focus on data collection, text analysis, and interpretation of the data. There are 6 kinds of qualitative studies, and this research paper uses content analysis since the object of the study is online newspaper. So in collecting the data, the writer followed some steps, such as visiting the Jakarta Post website, filtering the news by reading it one by one, downloading the news, printing out the news, highlighting the news that contains personal reference, providing the data. And in the data analysis, the writer followed some steps, such as the data was put in a table and classified according to the number of the news to make it easier to analyze. And then the data was interpreted to its function. And then the interpretation of the data was concluded at the end of the study. So findings and discussion. So among the 13 health news, there were 135 personal reference found within the news. The table showed on the screen. It showed the occurrence of the data found in the news. So you can see it is available on the screen, the data. And then the highest number of personal reference was found in the first news that carried out 36 items is first news. And then while the list was discovered in the 6th news, which only has 3 elements of personal reference. The highest and the least of the data found was influenced by the length of the passage within the news. A news that has longer passages contains more personal reference than the other. In addition, there are 2 functions of personal reference found in the news. The first is to indicate to the items appeared before, after, or outside of the referential items or personal reference, which used to refer to the reader's group of people or something that is not humankind. And number 2 is that to avoid repetitive words. So as you can see on the screen, example, since the beginning of the global pandemic, coughing and sneezing in public can feel similar to taking your kid to the hairdresser when they've got needs. You are that person. It was taken in this one, and the title is The Art of Coughing and Sneezing in the Age of COVID-19. The personal reference used to refer to the readers, the personal reference, your, is used to refer to the reader's kid. It is something outside of the text. And then they refers back to the kid. And then you refers to the readers. Subsequently, if the author of the news omits or substitutes the elements of personal reference, the unity of the text will probably be affected. And then conclusions, personal reference were found within the 30. All the news contained personal reference. And then the highest news contained personal reference is the first news, which involved 36 items, while the list is the 6th news that has only 3 elements of personal reference. And then the function of personal reference found in the news were to indicate to the item appeared before, after, or outside of the referential items, which used to refer to the reader's group of people or something that is not humankind. And then the second function is that to avoid repetitive word. And then The use of this personal reference in the Jakarta Post Health News helped to build the connection between one element and another, since the omission or substitution of it will impact the unity of the text. Thank you. Maybe that's all from me. Thank you for the opportunity.
Baik, terima kasih Nadila. Baik, Bapak Ibu, semua sudah selesai presentasi. Saatnya kita masuk pada sesi diskusi ya. Kita masih ada waktu sekitar 30 menit ke depan.
Jeffrey, saya belum presentasi ya. Saya
Ibu Asnani ya?
Iya.
Saya kelupaan, kelewatan. Asnani, yang topiknya tentang apa ya, Bu?
Tentang Kampung KB, Pak.
Oh ya, silakan Bu Asnani.
Ya, terima kasih. Sebelumnya saya mohon maaf, ini tidak bisa on cam, sepertinya ada trouble ya. Oke, saya share screen dulu. Apakah sudah terlihat, Pak? Tapi belum saya show ya. Apakah sudah terlihat jelas, Pak?
Cukup jelas, Bu. Tapi di slideshow ya, Bu. Oke, sudah.
Ya.
10 menit ya, Bu.
Ya. Okay, thank you. I will introduce my name is Asnani from the Department of Sociology, Physics University, Lampung. This research is the result of a collaboration between the University of Lampung and the representative of the Lampung Province BKKBN. This is my outline, introduction, method, finding and discuss, and the last conclusion and suggestion. Okay, introduction. Population issue. Population control policies continue to be in the spotlight because they involve the level of community welfare. According to that in underdeveloped countries, the population is predicted to double from 8,000 million world population in 2017 people, 2050. This data will continue to increase in 2100. The population will increase 2.9 billion people. WHO ya 2018. Then as one of the efforts to strengthen the program Kencana BKKBN to the smallest regional level, namely the village, the family planning village was performed. Kampung KB is expected to be able to bring up various strategic innovation that have high leverage in implementing various priority program in integrated manner. This village, Penengahan, is located right in the middle of the city and also close to the Abdul Muluk Regional General Hospital, where this General Hospital is the highest referral hospital in Lampung Province and level 4 hospital. Villages that are close to access to health service are certainly expected to easily reach family planning service and other health service that are able to provide health and welfare to the community. In 2018, Penengahan village was inaugurated as Kampung KB. Based on this explanation, the formulation of the problem in this study is number one, how was the implementing of the family planning village in Penengahan village? Then number 2, how is community participation in the management of KB Village during the COVID-19 pandemic? Research methods. This research is a field research. This field research belongs to the type of qualitative research with a case study approach. Research object. Location was conducted in Penengahan Village, Bandar Lampung City. This activity was carried out for 3 months, Juni, Juli, Agustus. Yeah. The object of the research is the people in Penengahan Village who are involved in the current management of the Kampung KB. Okay, the data source and data collection technique. The type of data used in the study consisted of primary data and secondary data. The main data collection used interview, observation, documentation, and literature studies. Research instrument. The form of the research instrument is an interview guide and a list of data needs. The interview guide is not a list of questions, but rather structured in interview step. Data analysis technique, descriptive, qualitative data processing techniques in this study are transcription, data coding, data classification, and data verification. Then finding and discuss implementation of activities before and during the COVID-19 pandemic. Before COVID-19, Mary carried out activities such as socialization, counseling, data collection, service, and various preparation for village competition. Then Posyandu implementation for 3 Posyandu. Then recruitment of management through the health of the environment, guidance from PLKB, part of the KKBN is carried out routinely every month and is attended by all sub PPKB. PPKB is part of the KKBN too. The meeting was held face-to-face in the village hall with more participant attending. PAUD activities run normally, cross-sectoral collaboration. But when COVID-19, Kampung KB activities during the pandemic are very limited and must follow health protocol. Were not outreach activities, counseling, and village competition, but only data collection. Data collection is carried out from house to house during the red zone. Then not done routinely. Several times the Posyandu has been carried out with strict procedures, mostly using online. KB Village administrator are priorities who master computers or social media. Only a few times to meetings, and only certain people attend because they are limited by carrying out health protocol. Emergency meetings are only for certain people and are limited to coordination using the WA group. Since the COVID-19 pandemic, PAUD activities have been closed, reduced cross-sectoral collaboration so that the activities of the Kampung KB are reduced. This is a form of community participation in Kampung KB Village. There are Poskeskel, Posyandu, PAUD, then Manajemen Kampung KB, PPKBD, and sub PPKBD, part of the KKBN, then the last healthcare. Conclusion, Based on the stage of Arnstein's public participation, the participation of the Penengahan village community in managing the Kampung KB is at level 6, namely partnership, cooperation. At this stage, the community has the right to make decisions and agree with the government. The community becomes the government working partner to cooperate in complying and implementing work programs. The suggestion to encourage community participation in managing the Kampung KB, it is necessary to have adequate infrastructure facilities such as the secretariat itself for the Kampung KB administrator, Penengahan village. This research still has limitations because it only looks at the perception of the Kampung KB administrators and the resident involved. So it is necessary to the further research to measure the management strategy of Kampung KB involving experts. Thank you. That's all my presentation.
Baik, terima kasih Bu Asnani. Dengan demikian, untuk presentasi sudah selesai. Kita masuk pada sesi diskusi. 30 menit ke depan, silakan bagi Bapak Ibu, para peserta konferensi jika ada pertanyaan ataupun tanggapan, atau mungkin berbagi terkait dengan setiap topik yang sudah dipresentasikan tadi ya. Kalau saya tangkap sih ada kesamaan sebenarnya, baik terkait dengan gender, perempuan maupun terkait dengan komunitas seperti itu. Untuk waktu dipersilakan bagi Bapak Ibu sekalian. Apakah ada yang mau memulai duluan?
Saya boleh, Pak.
Dengan siapa, Bu?
Saya Asnani. Saya Asnani, Pak.
Ya, silakan Bu Asnani.
Saya tadi lupa ya, presenternya siapa, tapi yang saya ingat presentasi tentang singling singanten ya. Itu. Jadi ini sangat menarik menurut saya. Tidak menikah jika tidak hamil ya, singling singanten ini. Jadi kalau misalnya dikaitkan konsep ini dengan perempuan yang menikah itu usia muda atau yang sudah hamil itu adalah perempuan yang usianya masih muda, kira-kira bagaimana ya kesejahteraan masa depannya, begitu baik secara fisik maupun mental, karena jika seandainya perempuan yang terlibat dalam singling singanten ini masih dalam usia yang muda, ini akan dikhawatirkan terhadap kesejahteraan hidupnya di masa yang akan datang. Mungkin itu saja, Pak. Terima kasih.
Baik, terima kasih Bu Asnani. Mungkin bisa langsung ditanggapi oleh timnya Ibu Putu Nomia Sinta ya. Silakan. Atau mungkin Bu Putu Nomi yang langsung menanggapi.
Oh ya, mungkin saya tanggapi aja. Nanti mungkin kalau ada yang mau menambahkan. Jadi begini Ibu Asnani ya tadi ya. Terima kasih atas pertanyaannya. Jadi memang kalau di Bali, boleh pakai bahasa Indonesia kan ya?
Boleh sekali Bu.
Oke. Jadi kalau memang di Bali itu belakangan ini memang ada fenomena seperti itu. Jadi di mana ada beberapa keluarga yang memang mempersilahkan anak-anaknya, mungkin karena hubungannya sudah serius juga dalam hubungan percintaan, jadi mereka persilakan biasanya untuk tinggal. Jadi ada anggapan di mana biar nggak rugi nih, anak saya kebetulan cowok misalnya, dan dia punya pacar, biar nggak rugi nanti saya menikahkan, takutnya nanti ternyata yang cewek nggak bisa menikah gitu, nggak bisa hamil, makanya nanti aja dah kalau sudah hamil baru saya nikahkan, seperti itu. Dan memang di zaman sekarang kan kalau kita lihat dari norma-norma itu sudah salah sebenarnya, tapi memang ada beberapa bukan daerah, beberapa keluarga sebenarnya mengadopsi hal-hal seperti itu. Dan jika misalnya, tapi bagusnya di Bali karena juga kekerabatannya sangat dekat dan juga adatnya sangat kental. Jadi jika misalnya ada anak di bawah usia yang harusnya masih di bawah remaja, ternyata hamil, kemudian juga harus menikah, mereka biasanya mempush untuk menikah. Jadi angka aborsi pun di Bali masih sangat kecil karena memang hukum adatnya sangat keras. Kalaupun yang ternyata yang keluarga pria itu tidak mau menerima gitu, tidak mau menikahkan anaknya, biasanya yang wanita ini akan dinikahkan dengan keris sebagai lambang bahwa anaknya itu secara agama sudah sah gitu. Nah, nanti selanjutnya bagaimana saat dia sudah lahir anaknya itu, cucunya itu misalnya sudah lahir, kemudian statusnya bagaimana, biasanya itu ada beberapa keluarga yang memilih untuk mengadopsi. Jadi harusnya itu sebagai cucunya jadi diadopsi sebagai anaknya di sertifikat seperti itu. Jadi di satu sisi memang kami melihat ini tidak baik ya, sangat tidak baik. Jadi memang harus ada edukasi yang diberikan oleh pemerintah kepada atau mungkin edukasi yang diberikan oleh adat juga kepada orang-orang seperti ini. Tapi memang tidak bisa dihindari juga ternyata praktek-praktek seperti itu masih ada. Jadi anaknya dibiarkan berhubungan, kemudian kalau misalnya di sini lebih mengorbankan yang wanita sih sebenarnya. Jadi kalau misalnya ternyata yang wanita sudah lama pacaran, tidak bisa dihindari mungkin sudah berhubungan seksual dan ternyata tidak hamil-hamil, maka ada tendensi kemungkinan anaknya tidak akan dinikahkan dengan wanita tersebut gitu, karena ada unsur-unsur itu. Itu sih sebenarnya yang terjadi di Bali yang sebenarnya cukup sangat disayangkan. Mungkin ada tambahan ya?
Halo, apakah suara saya terdengar?
Iya, terdengar.
Mungkin di sini saya izin menambahkan terkait mungkin tadi pertanyaannya adalah bagaimana tingkat kesejahteraan ketika seorang perempuan begitu kan yang menikah di bawah umur ketika membina suatu hubungan rumah tangga. Mungkin tadi sudah sempat dijelaskan terkait fenomena singbeling singanten di Bali ini memang sudah memudaya sampai saat ini. Cuma perlu diketahui mungkin para bapak dan juga ibu bahwa sebetulnya fenomena singbeling singanten ini bukan merupakan budaya dari Bali itu sendiri gitu. Cuma ini tuh kayak miskonsepsi seperti itu, miskonsepsi dari fenomena-fenomena yang akhirnya semakin lama semakin kesini itu dianggap sebagai budaya seperti itu. Dan di agama Hindu sendiri, kalau di Bali itu kan memang agama paling tertinggi itu, maksudnya masyarakat yang menganut agama Hindu di Bali itu kan banyak gitu kan, Pak dan juga Ibu. Kalau di agama Hindu sendiri itu tidak ada istilah ataupun fenomena yang mengatakan bahwa singbeling singanten itu merupakan sesuatu yang disahkan seperti itu. Namun karena memang mungkin zamannya sudah berkembang secara global dan memang dari turun-menurun itu dilakukan, maka dari itu memang fenomena singbeling singanten itu masih terjadi hingga saat ini. Dan mungkin sudah dibahas juga tadi sama Ibu Nomi itu terkait menikah dengan keris, itu juga salah satu implikasi dari adanya fenomena singbeling singanten seperti itu. Nah, terkait dengan tingkat kesejahteraan seperti itu ya. Kalau di dalam agama Hindu itu mengenal adanya kesetaraan gender antara laki-laki dan juga perempuan. Nah, di hukum Indonesia dan juga di hukum Bali itu sendiri juga mengenal adanya kesetaraan gender, artinya kedudukan perempuan dan laki-laki itu setara dan juga seimbang begitu. Dan di dalam peraturan perundang-undangan juga seperti yang sudah dijelaskan pada saat kami presentasi tadi di UU nomor 1 tahun 1974 tentang perkawinan itu diatur beberapa syarat untuk sepasang suami dan istri itu dapat menikah seperti itu. Itu syarat-syaratnya tiada lain adalah suka sama suka, kemudian dilarang melakukan hubungan suami istri sebelum adanya upacara pernikahan yang sah menurut hukum adat Bali. Dan salah satunya juga seperti yang sudah dipertanyakan tadi mengenai usia calon mempelai harus cukup. Nah, dari negara sendiri itu sudah mengatur perihal hukum tersebut. Di Bali pun juga seperti itu, di hukum adatnya mengatur seperti itu, cuma memang tidak mengikat ya seperti konstitusi di negara kita atau negara Republik Indonesia itu sendiri begitu. Nah, mungkin kalau ditanya juga terkait tingkat kesejahteraan, mungkin sudah jelas ya tingkat kesejahteraannya sudah pasti menurun. Selain itu juga dari sisi tingkat pendidikan, karena memang kan mereka belum cukup umur gitu kan menikah, dan pasti nanti ketika mereka sudah memiliki anak atau sudah memiliki keturunan, pasti edukasi yang diberikan kepada anaknya itu kurang seperti itu. Namun kalau dicarikan solusi preventifnya atau solusi sebelum terjadinya lonjakan fenomena tersebut, mungkin dari sisi pemerintah itu perlu menggalakkan adanya sosialisasi, dan juga mungkin dari lembaga-lembaga terkait yang memfokuskan pada bidang tersebut untuk melakukan sosialisasi mengenai pentingnya edukasi mengenai seks seperti itu, sehingga tidak ada terjadi lagi hubungan seks pranikah yang pada akhirnya itu mengakibatkan pada pernikahan usia dini seperti itu. Nah, sejauh ini kalau dari penelitian, kalau dari referensi-referensi yang kami baca, belum ada langkah preventif dari pemerintah. Namun dari salah satu artikel yang kami baca di salah satu desa memang sudah diterapkan oleh bendesa adatnya untuk menggalakkan edukasi dan juga sosialisasi mengenai hubungan seks pranikah seperti itu, dan sudah pasti juga hubungan seks pranikah ini banyak sekali implikasinya. Salah satunya memang mungkin HIV atau AIDS dan lain sebagainya seperti itu. Mungkin dari rekan saya ada yang mau menambahkan?
Baik, saya ingin menambahkan sedikit saja karena tadi juga sudah dijelaskan dengan sangat jelas oleh rekan saya dan juga dosen saya Bu Nomi. Jadi untuk bagaimana sih tingkat kesejahteraan bagi yang menikah, tentu saja itu seperti yang dijelaskan tadi, dengan dia menikah di usia dini itu terpaksa dia harus putus sekolah, terus kemudian akan berakhir pada dia tidak bisa melanjutkan masa depannya dengan baik, seperti yang tidak bisa bekerja, atau mungkin bisa juga dia bisa menjadi ibu rumah tangga. Nah, di mana di Bali itu biasanya seorang wanita yang sudah berumah tangga itu akan diberikan beban lebih, di mana ada yang namanya menyambut bayi dan juga menjahitan dan menjalankan tradisi, menjalankan kegiatan di hari raya seperti itu. Jadi tanggungannya tidak hanya mengurus anak lagi, tidak hanya mengurus suami, tetapi juga mengurus di masyarakat. Jadi itu saja tambahan dari saya. Terima kasih.
Ya, terima kasih.
Baik, terima kasih Bu Putu Nomi. Mungkin ada Bapak Ibu yang lain yang ingin bertanya lagi? Barangkali ingin menambahkan? Apakah ada Bapak Ibu yang ingin memberikan pertanyaan atau mungkin memberikan tanggapan terkait topik yang sudah dipresentasikan? Jika tidak ada, izinkan saya, karena saya tadi menyimak dari apa yang dipaparkan oleh para presentator itu terkait dengan materi yang disampaikan oleh Iwayan Gede Lamopia ya, terkait dengan kearifan lokal dan pandemi COVID-19. Saya punya pertanyaan simpel. Bagaimana kemudian proses-proses penyesuaian tradisi terhadap kondisi pandemi COVID-19 hari ini? Apa yang kemudian menjadi tantangan yang begitu nyata? Lalu bagaimana kemudian proses-proses adaptasi yang dilakukan? Mungkin itu saja Bu dari saya. Sepertinya timnya nggak ada lagi ya di dalam Zoom ini. Kalau tidak ada lagi, Bapak Ibu mungkin kita bisa untuk sesi foto dulu ya. Sebelum kita mengakhiri sesi ini, mungkin bisa dipandu oleh co-host. Atau mungkin Pak Bob bisa pandu? Oke, baik. Terima kasih Pak Martin. Baik Bapak Ibu, silakan di on-kan dulu videonya. Kita untuk sesi foto ya, untuk dokumentasi. Baik, sudah di on-kan ya semua. Baik, saya hitung sampai 3 ya Bapak Ibu. 1, 2, 3. Baik, ada satu slide lagi. Saya hitung sampai 3. 1, 2, 3. Baik, cukup ya Bapak Ibu. Sebelum saya akhiri, saya kembalikan ke Bapak Ibu sekalian, apakah ada yang mau disampaikan untuk sesi ini? Jika tidak ada, kami mengucapkan terima kasih atas bergabung di dalam konferensi ini. Bagaimana?
Saya mau nanya satu.
Iya. Iya, silakan.
Saya mau nanya full papernya kapan dikirim Pak? Di mana? Kemana?
Mungkin bisa Pak Bob. Oh ya, ya itu Pak yang mau saya sampaikan tadi. Saya pikir terkait materi. Untuk informasi selanjutnya akan disampaikan oleh panitia Pak ya. Harap ditunggu saja.
Baik.
Ada lagi Bapak Ibu?
Pak Jeffrey, tanya Pak
terima
Jeffrey.
kasih banyak.
Pak Jeffrey.
Gimana Bu?
Ini kita ada penutupan atau langsung ditutup oleh Pak Jeffrey ya?
Ada saya hanya menjadi moderator di sesinya. Ada Bu penutupan, sesi khusus untuk penutupan. Cukup jelas ya Ibu? Oke, baik. Terima kasih banyak Bapak Ibu sekalian. Sampai bertemu di momen-momen selanjutnya. Terima kasih.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Jeffrey, for your very kind and very excellent discussion with other oral presenter participants. Now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your excellent oral presentation. Now we are reaching to our last agenda. We will have the closing remarks from our Honorable Second International Conference on Social, Political, and Humanities, or ICOSUP 2021 Chair, Mr. Bob Sigalingging, MHUM, for giving his closing remarks. I'm now very pleased to invite Mr. Bob Morrison. The time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Miss Kia. I hope that my voice can be audible, yeah?
Yes, I can clearly hear your voice.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I believe that during these 2 days, all of us have obtained a fruitful discussion in the second ICOS of 2021, whose main theme is delivering research trends on social, politics, and humanities in the light of new normal. We have learned a lot from the plenary sessions delivered by the amazing keynote speakers. Once again, on behalf of the committee, thank you for delivering such important materials so that all of us can deepen our knowledge about research on social, politics, and humanities. Furthermore, I would like to thank all presenters and participants who have joined this conference from all over the world. I'm certain that every presenter has presented the application of their own disciplines. I sincerely hope that through your presentation and discussion afterwards, all of us can contribute to solve the problems in our own country. Even though the contribution may be small, but it's still valuable. Although this is the last day of the conference process is not over yet. There is still some steps that should be done by presenters after deciding where they will publish their research, either proceedings or journals. It will be finished for approximately a month by guidance of the committee. Finally, I'd like to thank all the committee members for organizing this conference and ensuring that it proceeded smoothly. I would also like to apologize for any inconvenience that you might experience during this conference. I thank you once again for your participation and wish you all the best for your next future research. I hope that you enjoy your stay here in our conference, and I do also hope that we can meet again in the third ICOS of 2022 by offline meeting next year. I hereby declare that the second International Conference on Social, Politics, and Humanities 2021 officially closed. Thank you so much, and see you in another opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for all.
Thank you very much for all.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Bob. Bye.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you,
very
Mr. Bob.
Thank you, Miss
I'm
Kia.
very
Thank you,
honorable
Bob.
to be MC in
Miss
this.
Kia.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
all. See you
Tolong.
again.
See you again.
Bismillah, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Kami dari program studi Sosiologi Fakultas Ilmu Sosial dan Ilmu Politik Universitas Bangka Belitung. Program studi Sosiologi terbentuk sejak tahun 2006 di bawah naungan Fakultas Hukum dan Ilmu Sosial. Kemudian tahun 2011 bergabung dalam Fakultas Ilmu Sosial dan Ilmu Politik. Sosiologi akan ditopangi dengan perolehan beasiswa yang ada, dan beasiswa yang ada di sosiologi itu dari kedutaan di Australia, kemudian dari Yayasan Salim, kemudian juga dari PPA, dan juga dari Kartu Indonesia Pintar dari Kementerian Pendidikan dan Kebudayaan. Sehingga kemudian cukup dapat berkontribusi untuk mendorong sumber daya manusia dari sisi pembiayaannya. Nah, harapan terbesar kita mudah-mudahan mahasiswa ataupun calon mahasiswa ke depan dapat memilih program studi sosiologi, sehingga kemudian bersama sosiologi dapat membangun SDM unggul dalam konteks pembangunan pasca tambang dan juga melanjutkan kearifan lokal di tahun 2035 bersama sosiologi, Bangka Belitung, dan Indonesia Jaya.
Program studi ilmu politik memiliki visi menjadi program studi unggulan berbasis riset dalam bidang kajian ilmu politik yang berorientasi pada pembangunan berkelanjutan tahun 2035. Adapun misi dari program studi ilmu politik adalah ingin menyelenggarakan pendidikan yang bermutu dan berkualitas serta mampu menghasilkan lulusan sarjana ilmu politik yang bermoral, berintegritas, serta mampu menjawab tantangan perubahan baik lokal maupun global. Kemudian misi berikutnya adalah ingin menciptakan nilai intelektual yang progresif, humanis, aktif, kritis, serta terbuka terhadap berbagai peluang maupun hal-hal baru. Kemudian, prodi ilmu politik juga ingin mendorong dan mengembangkan kajian penelitian ilmiah serta pengabdian kepada masyarakat dalam berbagai aktivitas politik yang tentu saja berbasis pada nilai-nilai kearifan lokal dan pembangunan berkelanjutan, serta mementingkan kepentingan bangsa dan negara.
Visi program studi Sastra Inggris Fakultas Ilmu Sosial dan Ilmu Politik Universitas Bangka Belitung menjadi program studi yang unggul di bidang bahasa dan sastra Inggris yang berdaya saing melalui Tridharma perguruan tinggi dengan menjunjung tinggi moralitas, mentalitas, dan intelektualitas. Misi program studi Sastra Inggris Fakultas Ilmu Sosial dan Ilmu Politik Universitas Bangka Belitung menyelenggarakan kegiatan pendidikan dan pengajaran di bidang bahasa dan sastra Inggris untuk mendidik calon tenaga profesional yang unggul dan berdaya saing tinggi dalam mengaplikasikan pengetahuan dan keterampilan sesuai dengan bidang ilmu dan tuntutan zaman. Menyelenggarakan kegiatan penelitian dan pengabdian kepada masyarakat di bidang bahasa dan sastra Inggris dengan memberdayakan potensi lokal yang bersinergi dan kontributif terhadap pembangunan berkelanjutan di Provinsi Kepulauan Bangka Belitung.